So over to you, Barry.
Well, Ronan, thanks very much for the invitation to yourself and to the Heritage Council. And after all those words of wisdom from Colette, I think I'm under pressure. I'll have to be on top of my game now with this presentation and maybe utilize some of the hints and tips. But yeah, I'll just share my screen here firstly and get started. Okay, so hello to everybody. Thanks very much for staying with us. It's good to see about 68 people still on the screen. Can you see that now okay, Ronan?
No, I don't see any
Oh,
slides.
sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry. Little second here. Oh yeah, sorry. I have to go back again. Excuse me. Sharing screen. Okay. Are we okay there now?
Yeah, if you want to make a full screen there now, and yeah, perfect. Looks perfect,
Okay,
Barry.
there we are. Sorry about that wee delay. Yeah, okay. Well, look, my name is Barry Sweeny. I'm the manager of the Bundoran Community Centre in County Donegal. I'm there for just over 9 months in the role of manager, and I just started about, I think, 6 days before Heritage Week last year, before our event. So I was delighted with that, to be honest, because I've got a very keen interest in heritage and have been involved in a lot of Heritage Week events over the last number of years in my hometown of Ballyshannon, which is just a few miles up the road. So the event that was all organised for me, I just walked in the doors and opened the doors to the community centre, and it was a collaboration between the community centre itself and the local historical society, the Maenya Historical Society. So it was a very good event, and I think it was a really good way to get the word out there about the community centre and get people who might not normally come into the centre in across the doors. And it was met very positively, I must say. So the background briefly to the community development group is really there may be a couple online tonight here too, but they're a group of steadfast community volunteers who got together to form a community group with the intention of focusing on youth activities in the town, which were lacking at the time, sort of around 2009, 2010, and they were formally incorporated in 2012. So the Bundoran Community Development was formed at that point in time. The Maenya Historical Society was there for a lot longer than that. A lot of people, again, with some crossover of the volunteers in the community who are interested in history, are also involved with the Community Development Group over the years. And you find that an awful lot in towns, certainly in this neck of the woods, where there's quite a crossover. So it sort of made sense that we collaborated and worked together on a number of projects. So the Bundoran Community Development acquired the former AIB building here on the main street in Bundoran back in 2016 for use as a community centre. And we were lucky to have a donation from the former town council. They disbanded in 2014, and they give a good chunk of money for this cause, and it's been a really successful experience. It was a great venture within the community of Bundoran, and they got to work straight away. And there was the first extension was completed in 2018 with a big meeting room towards the back of the building, and we've had a second extension and revamp of the building, which was just completed and reopened early in 2025. So I'll show you a couple of little pictures later just to show you that too. But to celebrate, we decided to open the doors for Heritage Week. It was an opportune time, and it was great to tie in with the Heritage Council and get that extra promotion through your sites for this event, opening up for the people of the locality from near and far, I must say, who came along and they got a great chance to see the building inside and outside. And the other interesting thing is that the Maenya Historical Society host a community museum within the centre, and the museum is mostly housed within the old bank vaults, where they used to keep all the cash back in the days. Um, and now there's very precious artifacts and that are in there instead. So collaboration, this is what it's all about. You can see here, this is a picture of Brian, one of the longtime members of the society and of the community centre indeed as well. So Brian unfortunately got locked in there last April. I think it was the 1st of April, 2026. And he was quite happy though, Brian. He was quite happy to be locked in there. He's very interested and very passionate about his local history. And really, that's one of the reasons why that collaboration is so good, is because they established a base in here in the centre. They have the museum and they're in and out all the time. And it's a great facility to attract people into our community centre as well. So both groups work very, very well hand in hand. So that's Brian. And, celebrating Bundoran's rich history is what it's all about. Bundoran itself is often thought of and pointed towards the history of early tourism and the seaside life, the coastal towns, the seaweed baths and the spas back in Victorian times. Also, what comes to mind when you think about the history of Bundoran is the railways. The end of the Great Northern Railway line was in Bundoran, and it formed a lot of the history and the reason for people coming and going to Bundoran. The story of, say, the War of Independence and maybe the effect of partition on the town of Bundoran is a very important part of Bundoran's history. It's probably about 7 miles, say 6-7 miles from the border at the closest point. So there was quite a lot of crossover there. Of course, it's also very famous for the ballrooms, the Astoria Ballroom, for instance, plus others, O'Carroll's Ballroom, and the whole music and social scene of Bundoran. So that's kind of your typical history of what people think about from history in Bundoran. But also you go further back, we have a very, very rich sort of going back to the Gaelic history of the area. It was a frontier location between Connacht and Ulster, and there were many, many battles of the clans and between the English and the Irish clans and chieftains at the time. So there's a lot of rich history there and some remnants in the area of castles and structures from that time. And of course, a very topical thing is the Annals of the Four Masters. If you don't know it already, it was written and compiled on the outskirts of Bundoran and Bundrowas. So that's a very topical and interesting conversation going on at the moment in the locality, and that's great. It's also a very rich area for megalithic sites all around the flatlands of Maenya. And there's also a very, very rich sort of geological formations in the area too, if you're into your geology. So that's kind of going back as to why and what's contained within the museum here and what's on offer in Bundoran. But there's more recent surfing history and water sports history that is very central to the Northwest in terms of right from Sligo to Mullaghmore to Bundoran to Rossnaula and beyond. So there's a very interesting sort of more modern history, and we weave that into the community centre in terms of our activities, our surf classes, or surf instructor courses that we have, or fundraisers through Paddle the Bay and things like that. A lot of it's part of the town and it's part of the people who live in the town. So it's a very interesting thing, and it's nice for us to open up our doors to all those people to come in. And we're still talking about collaboration being good, in the area. The Maenya Society, for example, reprinted Father Paddy Gallagher's well-known book, Where the Urn and Drowse Meet the Sea, and we sell that in the community centre here too. And we also work with the Maenya Society, for funding applications and, of course, organising Heritage Week events. So Oh, just in case you're wondering, Brian did get out in the end. You can see here that he was kept entertained reading some of the literature, and we did, feed him and give him a cup of tea to keep him going until we finally managed to set him free. Um, and you can see up here in small writing that that's the 1st of April, 2026. So of course, this is our Facebook post that we did during April Fool's Day this week. But as you know, was mentioned before, we're, I suppose, just trying to use the center here for promotion of some of the artifacts that we have. You can see the present from Bundoran with the 2 biscuits and the thing, and it's like subliminally advertising the museum, and we can assure you that Brian was safe, so don't worry about him. So our collaboration, we opened up our doors on Heritage Week. As we say, it involved our guided tours of the building from the members of the society and from our staff as well, museum visits, and we also worked with the county museum at the time. We got a loan of the workhouse exhibition, which really was pop-up stands. It was very handy, but it was an exhibition that they did a lot of work on over the years, and it's great to have that resource and that connection and collaboration with the county museum, and we do work quite well with them, taking advice to improve the museum going forward as well. So look at, I think organising an event like this, sometimes it can be quite a simple event. If you're organising your events, you don't always have to be too complicated about it. I would recommend refreshments and a place to talk, because you don't know like who's going to come in those doors and what chance encounters there might be, what interesting conversations will arise out of it. So I'm a great believer in a cup of tea and sitting down and having a chat. And you don't know who you talk to. And just for example, like we had well over 100 visitors on that day, but I've just put down an example of a Bundoran family who happened to be in the area at the time. They used to live in Bundoran, and they came back to Rogie to scatter ashes of one of their siblings. And they found out about the open day and came in, and they just connected again with old friends. They met people they knew decades before, and they were so interested and so impressed with this building, that it really made their trip, I suppose, a happier occasion as well as a sad one. And there's nice little things like that which mean a lot to people, and to get them to spread the word about our community centre, about our museum, and you don't know what benefits you will have once you open your doors. So that's why I believe it's a very good idea. The building itself, you can see it from the outside here. Sorry, it's not a great photograph, but it's described on the NBHS site as been built in either 1875 or in 1939. So there's one for you. Why can they not figure it out? Because there's 64 years of a difference there. And I think the only explanation is that it was substantially rebuilt in 1939, or possibly slightly afterwards, because we have the original drawings in the museum. They're actually up here behind me, but I've got my screen blurred. They're done by William Mitchell and Son Architects, and they're dated 1940. So it's an interesting connection to have within the building as well. You can see it's an Italianate style of building, reflecting, I suppose, the bank and the security and the strength of the structure, from an architectural point of view, so the customer would feel safe and strong and that their money was safe in there. So it was safe for quite a while the bank manager and his family lived in the building. And I suppose until it came around to the times that it was very popular to raid the banks, they moved out at that point in time, and the bank operated up until I forget what date now, but basically it was taken over almost 10 years ago by ourselves. It was probably about 4 years before that it stopped being operating as a bank. You'll see inside now. It's just interesting to show you a little bit of inside, and when you're taking your people on the tour or doing your event, to bring them up and talk about the lovely original staircase that still exists and reaches the three floors from the ground floor to the top of the second floor, in within the building. You'll see it was restored and kept. The room that's here on your left is the drawing room, or the I suppose sitting room for the bank manager. There's a fireplace at the other side of that room, but now it's modernized. It's high-tech screens within the building, but you'll see that it retains a lot of the character, the proportions, the lovely windows, in fact, that were restored with the help of the Heritage Council grant as well. So it's good to continue to work, with the Heritage Council and retain that. It's so important to retain that character of the building, and it's lovely to be in there. It proves, to be difficult and cold at times, and there are issues, but you have to embrace an old building like that, and you have to try and figure out how your Wi-Fi works throughout the building. It's not easy sometimes with all the stone walls and about 12 rooms to get to. This is the top floor here. You'll see just a little image of an up close of the nicely restored sash window, and also the upper room here, which is very swanky looking. This is a few surfboards in here, our connection to the sea again. This is a room that is sponsored and rented on an annual basis by Red Bull. So Red Bull, whenever their top class surfers come to surf the wave at Mullaghmore, Bundoran is their headquarters, and this is their headquarters where they come. There's a couple other rooms where they do health and safety and media work and relaxation, planning, conversation, and they also actually bring in some of the smaller, the local surfers, the younger surfers, in to train them in terms of safety, health, safety, and surf first aid and things like that. And it's great for them to meet their heroes, because these are the rock stars of the surf world. I'll just move along quickly. This is part of our new extension, the new Rogi suite, which is very useful within the building, and it has been very busy. There's our team on the day. Some of us who were here with the Workhouses of County Donegal exhibition, adding a lot of colour. I'm just kind of looking back at that last photograph and seeing it's very black and white and modern looking, but don't worry, there's plenty of colour in Bundoran Community Centre as well when you see this crowd. Yeah, I just talked a wee bit about the benefits as I was speaking. I would encourage you, if you are the custodian or the owner of a heritage building, it's very beneficial for yourself and for others. You just don't know who's going to walk in the door and what benefit that might be of to you, but you're creating awareness the whole time. You're also creating an appreciation for our heritage in the wider context. So important for people to remember and to appreciate what our built heritage, obviously, as well as our cultural heritage and our natural heritage, but it does bring people together in a memorable, in a nostalgic way, and it's a very, I suppose, useful way, or it's a very easy way to open your doors, invite somebody in and give them a cup of tea. It's simple as that. But it's a very important part of Heritage Week, I do believe. And again, the conversations that happen lead on to the next idea and the next idea. So we're planning 2026 still. I'm not going to talk about it because we haven't decided exactly what we're doing in 2026, but no doubt it will be fantastic. But I'd like to thank you very much for listening in, and hopefully you have found it interesting, and you're very welcome to come to Bundoran and to Donegal anytime. Hop in.